Hi, everyone. Welcome to the second half. Today, we're talking all about menopause. Oh, yes, menopause, perimenopause, all that fun stuff that comes after you thought that you're taking care of all of your hormone stuff. And then it sort of creeps up after raising kids, and you're wondering, what the heck is going on with my body? So, we're going to talk to Dr. Meghan MacKinnon today, who helps women improve their health through her evidence-based approach to hormone care. She believes every woman can overcome the roller coaster ride of imbalances by harnessing the power of hormones to enhance mood, improve your energy, relieve stress, and live life to the fullest. As a naturopathic doctor and North American certified menopause practitioner, she investigates a variety of factors that contribute to your well-being. We'll get to the bottom of your concerns and advise on a comprehensive treatment plan that's right for you. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to chat.
Great. So let's talk about menopause and perimenopause. How do you know you're in perimenopause? What changes do most women face as menopause approaches?
Sometimes I like to joke that there's no welcome sign. You've entered perimenopause, enjoyed the ride. And I think, many of us wish there was, because it would make us feel more comfortable and confident with understanding that there's going to be this, start day, and then we'll know that we're in it, and then we'll have a whole expectation of what to expect. But, frankly, the only rule with perimenopause is that there are no rules. So these are the years leading towards menopause, which really means it's a mixed bag of symptoms depending on the woman, her own personal situation, which makes it kind of tricky. You want to go into some symptoms, like some
nitty-gritty? So tell me I've had some symptoms myself, but then they stop. So I'm like, am I not? What are some of the things that make you know for sure, you're entering this new phase?
I think most people connect to the most common symptoms that we hear about, which are going to be the hot flashes and night sweats conversation, which definitely do and can start well before your final menstrual period. So while you're still in perimenopause or the years leading towards menopause. Once we start experiencing cycle changes where we're going plus or minus 7 days, so 7 days longer or a week longer between periods or a week shorter between periods, that's another clue that we're in I'm going to call it stage 2 or tier 2 perimenopause. So that tells us, oh, definitely you're in there for sure. But we have a lot of vague symptoms that do start showing up much sooner for women as well. And some of those vague symptoms include things that can be very overlapped with a lot of other health concerns, which is also where some of the confusion and mystery can sneak in for people. So one of those symptoms that I'm always watching for is sleep changes or sleep difficulties that start showing up in our late 30s or in our 40s at some point. Mood changes. So this could be new onset changes to mood, worsening of PMS, or it could be a worsening of underlying mood stuff that we might already have going on. Joint pain is another one of these kind of weird symptoms that we don't see talked about or we're not thinking about from a hormone perspective, but that can show up. Changes to libido, changes to body composition, changes to vaginal health or vaginal dryness. These are all things that can sometimes fall under the umbrella of perimenopause. And then there's, of course, just menstrual cycle changes in general. So if we start seeing heavier bleeding, heavier flow, or new onset menstrual headaches, these are all signs that stuff is different.
Okay.
As you can see, a mixed bag.
Yeah, I was going to say, and so not every woman is going to have the same symptoms either, right?
No, not at all. And, you described that sometimes it feels like you have symptoms and sometimes it feels like you may not. And that's actually really normal and a very classic way that stuff will present. because the whole process here is that we're not seeing a change in hormones, which is a drop off a cliff. In reality, we're seeing ups and downs, which give this mixed presentation where sometimes we might have more classic menopausal symptoms, and then sometimes everything might feel normal. And that in itself is a clue that, yes, we are in perimenopause.
Fun. Are there like, let's say, what are the like top three then? I mean, you mentioned a bunch of symptoms, but what are sort of like the ones that you hear women complain the most about when they see you? What are the like three that are like?
I think sleep is a really, really common one. So if I was
Yeah.
like looking at what shows up for a lot of people, sleep and the mood, like irritability, those sorts of things show up a lot. And I don't think that, like, sometimes we don't know and we can't fully tease apart, is this just, or is this only due to your hormone changes, or is it also due to other variables that are happening in life? I think that women are commonly concerned about their bodies. So, there's lots of conversation about that, but that shows up on a lot of intake forms and lots of conversations about the role of hormones involved with weight management and body composition stuff. But those are the conversations that start happening more in our early to mid 40s, as well as like the heavy bleeding stuff. And then once we get closer to maybe the time of menopause, closer to 50, 51-ish, that's when we start seeing more of the hot flash stuff to show up.
And when you talk about sleep, what are like, is it that women are like, what kind of sleep issues are you finding? Like women are waking up more during the night, or they're having trouble falling asleep, or what kind of changes should we look out for?
I think it can be very individual as well, but I'm starting to question the role of hormones when we fall asleep okay, but our sleep is very restless, tossy-turny, and we're waking up at 3, 4 a.m. and finding ourselves unable to go back to sleep.
Yes, that's a good one. And the hot flashes, they're a nuisance. Is there a way to navigate those symptoms, that particular symptom, gracefully?
Yeah, it's so interesting with hot flashes because I think that sometimes women are not super bothered by them, and that's okay. And then sometimes they're extremely disruptive towards life, showing up for ourselves and in our day-to-day. So I think the main thing to know is that we have treatment options and supports to address your symptoms in a way that works for you and what your goals are. I think the big part here as well is recognizing that, your menopause and perimenopause symptoms don't need to be like hidden away, because like even just, the question about gracefully to me kind of implies like this, regal, I must present myself the same way I always have. And I think that the more we open up the conversation into the changes that are normal and expected, so that we can stand at the front of a boardroom in a presentation and be like, sorry, I'm just having a momentary hot flash. Give me a little moment and I'll come back. Like, that's the kind of energy I want people to be going for at this phase of life, where we're supporting them through it, but we don't need to be ashamed, hide, or be scared about those changes as well.
Love that. Love that. You mentioned treatments. So tell me a little bit, some of the options that are available to help, like natural supplements, or when should hormone therapy be considered?
Like, this is a really big question, because again, if someone is not that bothered by their symptoms, I was speaking to someone this week, she's like, yeah, I just keep the window open a little bit. And, I take my covers off. And she was like, I'm cool with that. And like, that's fine if that works for her, right? We do have some natural supplements that have good evidence to treat hot flashes and night sweats, but I also really don't like to treat the options that we have for treatment support in a hierarchy, because what works for someone might not work for somebody else. And it really circles back to what our treatment goals are. And when we use the language that we should consider a natural supplement first, or if things are not that bad before we reach for hormone therapy, in many ways, even if it's unconscious, we're then suggesting that hormone therapy is not a safe, effective treatment option, right?
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So to me, like, the conversation really starts to be about Are we candidates for hormone therapy? And really supporting and educating women on what are the risks, what are the side effects, but also what are the potential benefits that might exist for you, so that we can embrace this conversation to help us to understand, is this a treatment and supportive strategy that you want to use at this phase of life, rather than thinking about it as, I'm not that bad, so I don't need to.
Right. Or it's like either or,
Yeah.
right? Either this or treatment or that. Like,
Right.
yeah. Got
Well,
it.
and the big difference here too is, like, sometimes we are talking a lot about symptom management in perimenopause, but when we're also thinking about this in terms of post-menopause, so after your final menstrual period, where we can still sometimes have symptoms, a supplement to treat hot flashes is going to help your hot flashes, and that's it. It might not help your sleep. It might not help to prevent osteoporosis and some of the other studied benefits of hormone therapy, whereas hormone therapy does have some other benefits that extend beyond just the treatment of hot flashes and night sweats. So that's where the conversation also differs a little bit.
Right. Okay, so how how long can this span be? How long do I have to go through this?
If only we knew. We need the crystal ball here, because, I definitely have worked with women who have little to no symptoms, little to no hot flashes, little to no challenges throughout this transition. So it is good to know that that situation also exists and is also normal. And there are other situations where women have been dealing with, we'll use the hot flashes for, 7, 8, 9 years. Okay. And I think that can be challenging, because I know when we're making decisions for our health, sometimes it's nice to know, like, I can deal with this for 6 months if I knew it was going to be 6 months. But when we don't know, sometimes that makes the decision making even more challenging when we're trying to decide, how do we support ourselves?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we had that crystal ball, like you said, if you knew, okay, this is going to go on for 5 years, like, I don't want to have to suffer for 5 years.
Right.
So that makes a lot of sense. And what are 3 things that women who are entering this phase of life should take away from today, would you say?
I think, there's so many.
I know.
I list 10. No, I'm just joking. So I think the most important one is probably to think about this transition in terms of building some space into your life to think about your health in terms of where are we currently at with our trajectory for our health, our physical body, but maybe also our life, so that we can use this as an opportunity to redirect and reframe the conversation for ourselves and our future health. Like, that's really what I want for all women at this phase of life. Which it's a big ask, but that's my mission, I think, is to try to help to support women in that way. And number 2 is probably to educate ourselves. I think about, if we were to send our daughters into conversations about, or into puberty without having a conversation with them about it, we can only, bridge that in a way that makes 0 sense whatsoever. So making sure that we feel like we have an understanding about what exists, what could be normal, what's not normal, how might we support ourselves, and making sure we access trusted, well-educated information is really, really important. And then last, I think it's just remembering that amongst this conversation about perimenopause and menopause, there can sometimes be a undertone of fear. And, fear can, sell a program, it can sell a supplement, it can sell this, but we don't need to be fearful about this time of life. We can think about it as a time of unsettling transition. We don't have to like it, but we can access support to help us through it. And you still deserve to feel your best at this phase of life, regardless of the hormone changes that are happening. And enjoy the ride.
Yeah. We're all on it together.
We're all together.
Thank you so much. Tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at Dr. Dr. Meg MacKinnon, MacKinnon.ND. So I hang out there mostly, and you can also get a link to my website through there. I also run a women's health group called the Pause Prescription, so you can follow me on there to hear all about that as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much for joining me today.
Thank you
Dr.
for having me, Maria. It's been lovely talking with you. Thanks for sharing all this lovely content with your community.
And thank you for providing help to the women that need it through this phase of life. Thank you so
Not a
much.
problem.